years ago for 1 year. And then I returned for PhD in 2019. So it's almost 2 years.
2 years.
Maybe 2 years. Yes.
Wow, that's great.
2 years and 4 months. Yes.
Okay, that's great. So we hope you also can encourage our students to continue their study abroad.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, definitely. I would love to.
Many of our some of our lecture graduated from Ohio University, like Slamet Triono, Professor Slamet Triono, but 2 of them already retire. Slamet Triono is also from Ohio State University.
Oh, so
he's a vice rector before in. Former vice rector in Universitas Negeri Medan.
Oh, I see.
Vice dean,
former
dean.
So there is already a strong bond between Unimed and Ohio State, I guess.
We actually already have we have the collaboration still long time ago, already extended for many years. Under USINTEC program, but because very expensive to do something in America, you know. Everything is money. Everything is money.
Yes.
And it is different with other university. Other university they have a tolerance for some of the student. For example, if we have a reciprocal visiting, when they come to Medan, for example, we pay for the expense, but our student, when we go to other countries, they pay the expenses. So it's not applied to America. I don't know why.
Oh, see.
That's the reason we don't have we don't do a lot of activities in United States compared to other countries.
So I think our dean also already joined into our meeting.
We can start
Pak
now.
Pak Dekan. Ya.
Selamat pagi Pak W4.
Good morning Pak Jusnadi. How are you?
Saya sehat saja Pak W4. Selamat pagi Ibu.
Baik Pak, baik.
Di Amerika pagi atau malam ini Bu?
Sekarang malam Pak.
Yes. Malam.
12 hours different.
That is right. We just have a saving flight time. It's usually 13 hours ahead.
Yeah.
But now it's 12.
Berapa jam Pak Pak? 12 jam atau 13
jam? 12 jam. Tapi kita sekarang kan hari Jumat, masih hari Kamis. Masih hari Kamis
right.
Sama Bu Risa.
Ya Bu Risa ya. Oke.
Tapi malam.
Di malam ya Ibu Risa di sana malam ya.
Iya Pak.
Kalau di Indonesia kami sama Pak Manhir baru siap minum kopi Bu, kopi pagi.
Iya Pak. Tapi di sini minum kopi malam juga boleh kok Pak.
Boleh ya. Kalau Pak Manihar kopi Siti Kalang Ibu, kopi Siti Kalang hanya ada di Medan.
Right.
Oh oke.
Kopi Aceh, kopi Siti Kalang available in Medan, you know. A lot of coffee shops here. Menjamur okay.
Okay, I have a friend from Aceh, I guess, and she introduced me about many types of coffees. That's very original, she said. So, but I'm not a coffee person. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay.
How's Ibu Nani? If you can.
Oh yes, we can start, I guess. Okay. Ibu Sofi dan mahasiswa tolong dibantu supaya kita segera mulai. Adik-adik tolong dihidupkan kameranya ya, biar Ibu Risanya juga bisa kenal nih wajah-wajahnya. Oke, tolong dihidupkan kameranya. Ibu Sofi, silakan dimulai Ibu Sofi. Adik-adik mahasiswa silakan dimulai.
Baik, Bu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope you're all feeling good. Please I hope I send my warm welcome here. Welcome to General Lecture about Creative Learning, Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan, in cooperation with doctoral students at College of Education and Human Ecology, The Ohio State University. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for all the participants who are joining with us today. Before we start it, let me introduce myself first. My name is Fadinda Aisyah. For those of you who doesn't know me, I'm students of guidance and counseling education, of course, in Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan. First, Honorable Vice Rector for Universitas Negeri Medan, Profesor Dr. Manihar Situmorang, MSc, PhD. Honorable Dean Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan, Profesor Dr. Risnadi, MS. Honorable Vice Dean 1, Faculty of Education, Nani Bararahna Sutian, SPC, MA, PhD. Honorable Vice Dean 2, Dr. Zuraida Lubis, MPD Cons. Honorable Vice Dean 3, Dr. Anda Kamtini, MPD. And honorable to our special guests from the Ohio State University, Virginia Alonso and Tracy Johnson. Honorable Head of Department Guidance and Counseling Education, Department Teacher Training for Primary School, Department Community Education, and Department Early Childhood Education. And don't forget, Honorable all of lecturers of Faculty of Education. And last but not least, Honorable our blessed participant today. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah who has been giving us His mercy and blessing till we can gather here in His right place with healthy condition. Secondly, let's send our salawat and salam to our beloved Prophet Nabi Muhammad SAW. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to read today's agenda. First, opening ceremony by myself as Master of Ceremony. Second, listening national anthem. Third, praying together. Four, welcoming speech by Dean of Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan. Fifth, welcoming remarks and opening speech by Vice Rector for Universitas Negeri Medan. Six, photo session. 7, the main event, general lecture entitled Creative Learning and followed by question and answer session. 8, closing speech, and last, closing ceremony. And I am remember for all the participants, please kindly turn on your camera. We are going to enter the next event, listening national anthem. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before start the event, I think it's better when we start the event with prayer together. So let's pray together based on our religion and our belief. Pray start. Pray finish. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to listen a welcoming speech by Dean Faculty of Education, Professor Dr. Yusnadi, MS. To Professor Dr. Yusnadi, time and place is yours.
Baik, terima kasih moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam Ibu Arisa dari Ohio State University, saat ini berada di Amerika Serikat. Selamat pagi untuk seluruh dosen yang ada di Universitas Negeri Medan, Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan, seluruh mahasiswa yang pada semester ini mengikuti mata kuliah pembelajaran kreatif. Tentu yang sama-sama kita hormati Profesor Manihar Situmorang, MSc PhD, Wakil dari keempat Universitas Negeri Medan, yang sudah memfasilitasi kegiatan kita ini. Ibu Wakil Dekan 1, Nani Barora PhD, Ibu Wakil Dekan 2, Ibu Dr. Juraida Lubis, MPD, Ibu Wakil Dekan 3, Ibu Kamtini SPD, MPD, dan seluruh mahasiswa, dosen yang sudah bergabung dalam acara ini. Saya senang sekali bahwa pada hari ini kita akan mendapat pencerahan berkaitan dengan pembelajaran kreatif dari luar negara kita, dari seorang narasumber yang saat ini berada di Ohio State University. Saudara-saudara mahasiswa, saya kira mari sama-sama kita mengikuti acara ini, menyimak acara ini, memahami dengan baik materi-materi yang akan disampaikan nanti, apa yang kita dapatkan pada hari ini bisa menjadi pembanding bagi kita di tanah air, di fakultas kita, berkaitan tentang pembelajaran kreatif. Oleh karena itu, kegiatan ini mudah-mudahan tidak berakhir pada hari ini saja. Kita berkeinginan kegiatan seperti ini bisa berlangsung seterusnya, sehingga wawasan kita menjadi lebih baik, pemahaman kita menjadi lebih baik berkaitan dengan pembelajaran kreatif. Terima kasih saya sampaikan sekali lagi kepada Ibu Risa Harisa atas kesediaannya mau berbagi pengetahuan, keterampilan, sikap yang berkaitan tentang pembelajaran kreatif. Sekali lagi saya sampaikan kepada seluruh mahasiswa, selamat menikmati kuliah umum pembelajaran kreatif yang akan disampaikan oleh Ibu Risa Harisa dari Ohio State University. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya kembalikan ke moderator.
Well, thank you so much to our Dean, Professor Dr. Yusnadi, MS. Then we will listen a welcoming speech and welcoming remarks by Vice Rector for Universitas Negeri Medan, Profesor Dr. Manihar Situmorang, MSc PhD. To Professor Dr. Manihar Situmorang, time and place is yours.
Thank you, Padinda Isya. Your Excellency, our guest lecturer, Ibu Risa Harijat from the Department of Teaching and Learning, the Ohio State University, whom we respect here, our Dean, Professor Dr. Yusnadi, from Dean of Faculty of Education, all Vice Dean, Head of Department, Head of Study Program, Head of Laboratory, all lecturers and students at Faculty of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to Ibu Risa Harija, and good morning and best wishes to all of us. We give praise to our God for giving us health and the opportunity to take part in today's public lecture. I'm Manihar Situmorang as a Vice Rector for Collaboration at Universitas Negeri Medan. Would like to express my gratitude to Ibu Risa Harija, whom has been willing to give us a public lecture in this semester at Universitas Negeri Medan. We know that today's night, it is already evening in Ohio, but you still have your time with us in the morning in Medan. So on this occasion, we are very grateful for being able to attend the lecture with you. You already give the title as a creative learning, pembelajaran kreatif. We are very proud of the title, and because of all of us with background in education, we hope we can enrich our knowledge about teaching, especially on creative teaching. We expect that all of us can listen to this lecture, can understand the importance of creative learning, whether it's in micro level or micro level, especially to improve our understanding on education sector. So we congratulate the Faculty of Education for conducting this lecture. We expect that all participants for this lecture can gain the knowledge from Ibu Risa and can be implemented for teaching and learning in Indonesia, especially at Universitas Negeri Medan. We, as Vice Rector, we hope that the Faculty of Education can become a leading example in the application of creative learning at UNIMED. So we have to listen Ibu Risa. We can gain the knowledge from her and can be transmitted to other faculties later. Creative learning certainly applies to all levels of education. It is starting from kindergarten to the university level. Hopefully, these academic activities can be continued and sustained in the future. Our special request to Ibu Risa, hopefully after this COVID pandemic and after you finish your study in United States, we hope that you can attend the lecture offline at Universitas Negeri Medan so that we can introduce Universitas Negeri Medan close to you. Universitas Negeri Medan, I don't know whether Ibu Risa already knows about Universitas Negeri Medan. We have 7 faculties and 1 postgrad program here. We have 80 study program, and our student body now is 27,000, and our lecture 1,100 lectures and 650 supporting staff. So on behalf of the Rector of Universitas Negeri Medan, we officially open the public lecture with the topic of creative learning. Thank you very much, and I return the host to arrange the event. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to Professor Dr. Manihar for your opening remarks and opening speech. That is a pleasant speech, I think. I hope that your words will be achieved from now. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is photo section. Please, to all participants, turn on your camera. The committee will take the screenshot. Ready? Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Next page. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Next page. Page 11. Page 12. Next page. Next page. Okay, we're finished. Thank you so much for all the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time that we've been waiting for. We are going to enter the main event, Creative Learning by Mrs. Risa Hariza MA. To all the participants, please kindly open your camera during our general lecture. The main section will be led by my friend Tasya Sastira Harap as moderator. To moderator, time and place is yours.
Thank you so much for Fadinda as our master of ceremony today. Hello everyone. Honorable Vice Rector for Universitas Negeri Medan, Profesor Dr. Maniharsi Tumorang MSc PhD, Honorable Dean of Faculty Education Universitas Negeri Medan, Profesor Dr. Yusna DMS, Honorable Vice Dean 1, Nani Barora Nasution, SPC MA PhD, Honorable Vice Dean 2, Dr. Zuraida Lubis MPD Cons, Honorable Vice Dean 3, Dr. Anda Kamtini MPD, and let me giving a very warm welcome to our speaker today, Risa Hariza MA, and of course for all the blessed participants. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tasya Sastira Haraha. I am a student of Guidance and Counseling Program 2020, and of course in Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan, and I will be your moderator today. Before we answering that topic, I would like to read the curriculum vitae of our speaker, Mrs. Risa. Here it is. Education, Master of Arts, Teaching and Learning, STEM Education on May 2014 in the Ohio State University, Columbus, Ohio, United States. Bachelor of Education, Physics Education on July 2005 in State University of Malang, Malang is Java, Indonesia. Teaching and Advising, Science Teacher on August 2011 until June 2019 in Public Middle School 3 of Pontianak, Pontianak, West Borneo, Indonesia. Science Teacher on April 2006 until August 2011 in Public Middle School 9 of Pontianak, Pontianak, West Borneo, Indonesia. The latest 3 publications, first, on 2018, Proceedings National Symposium for Teacher and Education Staff and Natural Science, Education and Culture Ministry Republik Indonesia. Second, on 2017, developing critical thinking of middle school students using problem-based learning for core areas or PBL4C model, Journal of Physics conference series. Third, on 2016, the evolution of Indonesian and American science education curriculum, a comparison study, International Journal for Educational Studies. Next, honors and awards. Fulbright Doctoral Scholarship Program, American Indonesian Exchange Foundation or AMINAF, the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs of the United States Department of State, United States 2019 until 2022. The first place of Science Teacher Olympiad for Middle School Teacher, Educational Office of Pontianak City, Pontianak, Indonesia 2018. Fellowship to attend International Teacher Weeks Program, CERN, or the European Organization for Nuclear Research, Geneva, Switzerland 2017. Secondary Teacher Professional Development Program, Australia Awards, the University of Melbourne, Australia. Professional Service, oral presentation entitled Educational System at the United States during Pandemic COVID-19, in virtual Indonesian teacher training with Google Master Trainer and Ministry of Education and Culture, September 2021. Member of School Science Fair Judges, Sampurna Academy, Jakarta, Indonesia 2021. Member of Judges for Provincial Middle School Teaching Award, Education Office of West Borneo Province, Pontianak, Indonesia 2016 until 2018. Okay, that's all about our guest lecture. To shorten our time, let's entering the main event with our speaker. But if there's a question from you during the presentation, please just type on the chat room. For Mrs. Riza, the time and place is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. That's a very long review of my CV. I guess I send you a short one, but that's okay. Thank you very much once again. I hope I can share my screen now. Have you made me a co-host? Oh, okay. Okay, I would like, first of all, to extend my sincere gratitude to Universitas Negeri Medan, represented by Vice Rector for Planning, Collaboration, and Communication Affairs, Bapak Professor Dr. Andes Manihar Situmorang, MSc, PhD, and also the US Indonesia Teacher Education Consortium USINTEC with Dr. Adrian Rogers as the Executive Director. For providing me this extremely useful and enlightening opportunity to participate in this visiting lecture program, and also a privilege to meet and share with so many distinguished scholars, Dean, Professor Dr. Isnadi MS, Vice Deans, and Head of Departments, Head of Study Programs, Faculty members, and also students from Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Medan. For today is creative learning. I divided this topic into 5 subtopics. The first part is introduction, where you will take a survey to gain some insight about your thinking when you hear the term
Miss Riza, do you still with us? Okay, I think there is some connection problem.
After that, which is creative learning, we will discuss about the definition provided by experts, and then the examples of creative learning, also the model proposed of the expert about creative learning. We are going to watch a video about creativity in a classroom. And in the last part of this lecture, I provide you some examples of lesson plan and also learning activities through a video, and some sample student works where we can try to analyze together how much these three pieces represent creative learning into their designs. So I have 1 hour for presentation, I guess, and also 30 minutes for a question and answer session. I hope that I can cover all of the topic that I have mentioned above. And also I would like to let you know that because my major is in science education, so most of the examples are in science education field. However, I try to find examples in elementary level because I saw that the audience, most of you comes from a science education department. Then I thought that it will fit you better. So here is the introduction part. Like I mentioned earlier, that I would like to gather some information about your thinking, your perspective regarding the term creativity. So I have the link here for you to submit your response, and I will put it in the chat after I stop sharing my screen. So you can submit your response. I will give you a few minutes to complete it. And also, I would like to say that the survey is completely anonymous, so you can relax about it because nobody will know what your answers is. And if you cannot access it, you let me know, like you can type in the chat. So I have put the link in the chat. Maybe you can try to submit your response now.
What's happened, Tasya? Are there any problem with Ibu Risa now?
We just have some survey to fill, sir.
Okay. Is that automatically linked to you, Ibu Risa?
Yes, I can see the result, and I will share the result after this. Maybe I just wait for several response more because I don't think like 500% can fill the survey, like all of them.
Okay, to the all participant, you can submit on the link in the chat room, please.
Miss Riza, it said it's already full for the survey.
Yeah, I think so. I have some like I have import some as a sample of your responses, but before we discuss the responses, do you have any thoughts or comments, or you want to share some personal experience related to this term creativity? Anyone? My term rule is if you speak English, then I will respond in English. If you speak Indonesia, that will be fine too. I will respond in Indonesia for during this lecture. So if anyone's still thinking about it, let's see the result of the survey. So this is the sample from your responses. For the first question, what is creativity? And like it's really close to each other, that some of you think that it is an individual characteristic, and the others think about it's an individual ability. You know the difference between them, that if it is individual characteristic, then you were born with it. But if it is an individual ability, it means that you can develop these creativity skills. So it's really interesting to see the results. And now we move forward to the second one. So how about this one? What is creativity in terms of characteristics of products, such as an original drawing? So most of you prefer to choose this one as a creativity, and some others prefer this creativity as an elegant solution to a mathematical problem. So that's really interesting thought too, I guess. We'll discuss about it later, like in a few slides more. And then for the last one, creativity is a process of generating, trying out, and evaluating novel ideas. And most of you agree with this idea. So I think that most of you have a very good understanding about creativity itself. So I hope that during this lecture, you can share about what you have known about it and how you can like put it into action later during the lecture and after this lecture. We continue to the definition of creativity. Here we have some of the definition provided by the expert. For example, Torrance in 1974 stated that creativity is being sensitive to problems, insufficiencies, shortage of information, non-existence elements, and incompatibility, identifying challenges, seeking for solution, estimation and hypothesizing or modifying hypotheses in relation with insufficiencies, selecting and trying one of the solutions or trial and concluding accordingly. Psychologist Robert Sternberg in 2006 also described creativity as the ability to produce work that is both original and useful for a task, and it's not a set of skills, traits, or competencies, but more of a mindset, according to Harris in 2009. And we already know that creativity is important for most any type of career or occupations that requires thinking, such as writer, business person, salesperson, teacher, and many other professions. So I would say there is no right or wrong answer to your responses. However, your answer to this question naturally has consequences for how you assess or measure creativity in your own classroom, or how you measure creativity in scientific research. Some examples of creativity in artistic field It can be devising a lesson plan that will engage students, designing a logo, or creating an exam to test student knowledge. In problem solving, one way to show a creativity can be finding a new ways to cut energy use or developing a new teaching tools. And in STEM field, it can be designing a more efficient assembly line robot, add transition, animation, and motion, writing an innovative new computer program, or developing a testable hypothesis. Creativity needs creative thinking as its starting point. Creative thinking itself is defined as a way of observing problems or situations from a fresh perspective. That means unorthodox solution which may look unsettling at first. Making and connecting links to think of many possibilities, thinking and experiencing in various ways and use different points of view, thinking of new and unusual possibilities and giving guidance in generating and selecting alternatives. So there are some definition of creative thinking. In conclusion, we can say that creative thinking involves students in learning to generate and apply new ideas in specific contexts, seeing existing situation in a new way, identifying alternative explanations, and seeing or making new links that generate a positive outcome. However, Torrance in 1972 also pointed out that one reason children don't think creatively is they do not find it rewarding. More often, children are rewarded for recognition, memorization, for being neat, cooperative, punctual, or getting the right answer. They are rewarded for meeting the behavioral norms. Then Torrance further suggests that if children are rewarded for original thinking, they will attempt more creative efforts. Researchers have also found that many teachers' attitudes about creativity and imagination might cause them to view unconventional or unexpected student ideas as disruptive to their educational processes. So, what kind of teacher's attitude that will help students develop creative thinking? Here we can see that Torrance introduced 6 principles for rewarding critical thinking. Be respectful of children's questions, and be respectful of imaginative and unusual ideas, although you may think that those ideas are very weird. Show students that their ideas have value. You give them opportunities for practice or experimentation without giving them evaluation. Encourage and evaluate student self-initiated learning and tie in evaluation with causes and consequences. People who are creative thinkers share these common characteristics. First, they are communicators. Creativity and confidence are expressed in some ways through both listening and communicating. This is often why creative thinkers are good communicators. Collaboration is additionally important for this type of thinking, and good communication is crucial for work performed as an element of a team. Second, they are open-minded. An open mind could be a mind that appreciates criticism, is prepared for a brand new solution and concept, and is not frightened by evaluating ideas. An individual who is open-minded is willing to be taught from both success and mistakes, having the ability to grow and develop. Third, they are risk takers. They like to explore new ideas and techniques, is impossible without risk-taking. As a willingness to face challenges and accept changes. Creative thinkers are resilient and that they do not seem to be terrified of taking an opportunity, knowing that one has to be brave when exploring innovative and original ways of brooding about and solving problems. They know that living exemplary is typically necessary to succeed, whether or not it means facing the unknown. Fourth, they are knowledgeable. To develop an understanding of things and situations, you would like a background story. Knowledge allows creative thinkers to determine the total picture, which is why they know lots about the world they at and that they are experts in what they are doing. Fifth, they are flexible. Abilities to adapt to changes and think outside the standard patterns are part of creative thinking, which is why being flexible could be a characteristic trait of creative thinkers. They welcome changes, they are not petrified of changing their method of labor, and that they are good at working with others. So, what type of learning environment that supports students to develop their creative thinking? We have some definition here about creative learning environment. For example, Torrance in 1963 stated that children learn by means such as questioning, inquiring, searching, manipulating, experimenting, and even aimless play. Children explore out of their curiosity, which is natural to human beings. In more recent studies, several features of creative learning are revealed, including playfulness, collaboration, development for imagination and possibility thinking, and supportive or resourceful context. Further, the Dusseldorf Forum, which promotes creative learning in school, state clearly that they define creative learning as a teaching that encourages young people to use their imagination and engage their natural curiosity, to see age-old problems in a new light, to experiment and test ideas, to apply mixed mediums and interdisciplinary approach, to pursue their interests and strengths, and to develop a lifelong love of learning. So that's some of the definition and examples about creativity, creative thinking, and also creative learning. And what experts say about creativity, we will watch a video about it together. This is a TED Talks. Let me try. Okay, this is a TED Talks by Catherine Timas. Anyone familiar with TED Talks? Okay, maybe some of you. So Catherine Timas, she's a children's book author. She won the Bird Medal winning author of the Timon. And I will try to play this video from my PC here, and hopefully we can watch it together. Oops, let me try this one. Okay, can you hear the sound? Yes?
Side of the box. This is what we tell our students. But newsflash, most kids have no idea what this phrase means or how to go about, thinking outside the box. As a children's book author, this surprises me, but it shouldn't, not really. After all, the schools are the ones that constantly hand kids a piece of paper, the equivalent of a flattened box, and tell them to stay within the confines of that box and pick from the provided answers. Is it A or B or maybe C? And kids become conditioned quite quickly to think only within that given set of parameters, never drawing on their own creative sensibilities. But so what? Why is creativity important? Essential even? That's easy. Jetpacks and flying cars. At its core, education is about preparing students for the future. The problem with this is that no one knows what the future will bring. 40 years ago, I was promised a jetpack and a flying car, and I'm still waiting. Then again, I have the world's information at my fingertips and 1,000 songs in my pocket, so I can't complain. But what this shows is that the future is completely and totally and utterly unpredictable. Additionally, many real-world challenges are much more open-ended, and the one correct answer approach to problem solving simply will not yield innovative answers. Since we cannot predict the future, nor predict the problems we'll face, flexibility becomes the key to success. We can prepare for the future by remaining flexible and open, an openness that defines creativity. Creativity, very simply put, is the ability to make new things or think of new and original ideas. And as important as it is to understand what creativity is, just as importantly, we need to understand what it is not. First, creativity is not a select talent held only by a few. It is a method of operating, an ability that each and every one of us has and can tap into. Second, creativity and the arts are not one and the same. Drawing, painting, writing, music, dance, theater, these artistic pursuits are indeed also creative pursuits. But so too is inventing Post-it notes or the polio vaccine. Now, if schools kill creativity, as the compelling Sir Ken Robinson famously stated in his TED Talk a few years back, what can be done about it? What can we do about it? Quite simply, what we do is we work with what we have, injecting creativity into the current educational structure. Towards that end, I'm going to suggest some creativity prompts that can be used in any classroom and are easy, fun, fast, and free. By beginning each day or class period with a quick exercise in creativity, just 5 minutes or less, it helps to foster and encourage for kids what thinking outside the box actually looks like. So here's prompt number 1. Object, what could it be? The concept is very simple. Select a 3D object and ask, what else could this be? Or what could this be used for? Or what could this be turned into? A tennis shoe might become a plant holder. A drinking straw might become a fishing pole. A teacher's desk might become flipped upside down and transformed into a boat. Or try this one. Object plus doodling equals something new. Take a small 3D object and incorporate it into a 2-dimensional doodle. Or if you're artistically inclined, a more elaborate drawing. For a non-artist such as myself, my creations would be fairly simple. An uncooked spaghetti noodle, for example, would be broken into a few pieces and arranged to make, say, hey, a flying trapeze, drawing in a little stick figure to convey action and give context to the new object. Another idea, not so much an activity as it is a simple change-up of routine. Creativity, at its core, is about finding a new perspective. Nothing drives this point home easier with kids than physical movement, physical repositioning. Why do students need to sit at a desk all day? Let them choose to sit under the desk or sit on top of the desk or hang upside down from their chair. Maybe they would prefer to stand. Be open to new possibilities. One of my favorite prompts for writing assignments involves this creative twist. The student must write on anything other than paper. See what they come up with. Will they write on the back of birch bark, on toilet paper, on their friend's arm? How might that change the content of their writing? Or lastly, try this exercise that's often used in creativity workshops. Give students a sheet of paper with 30 circles on it. Or try my modified version, mixing circles with squares. And then ask the students to turn those shapes into something. I've found mixing circles with squares helps kids especially keep their free association momentum going. And yes, there will be basketballs and baseballs and books galore, but sooner or later those shapes will morph into snowmen or robots or the coolest whatchamacallit thingamajig you've ever seen. Now, with these types of creativity prompts, kids rarely judge themselves on the look or the quality of their creations, unlike, say, in an art lesson, where they immediately recognize that their horse does not quite look like their neighbor's horse, or if they're like me, maybe doesn't look like a horse at all. But with these types of creativity exercises, kids understand that it's all about the ideas and their ability to remain flexible and to come up with these creative ideas and express these ideas will make all the difference in the world. Perhaps someday they'll save lives with innovative medical advancements or invent something revolutionary like the iPod. Or maybe, finally, I'll get my jetpack. And so, to foster that creativity, I suggest we stop telling students to think outside of the box. And instead, we start asking them questions. Questions like, what else could this box be? Thank you.
Stream world-class soccer live on a...
So we're going back to the presentation. All right. Any thoughts or comments after you saw the video? Let me see the chat. You can type it in the chat if you want, or maybe raise your hand to say your thoughts. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer for your responses, and also maybe you would like to share some characteristics that Catherine mentioned about creative learning in her talks that may be related to the previous slides that we have discussed before. Do you think any correlation between intelligence with creativity? That's a very good question here. You know, there's a lot of research that also searching an answer for that question. But if we refer to Catherine Tima's talk, she preferred to say that the creativity is not individual characteristic. So people do not born with the creative skills. She prefers to say that creativity is a part of ability, individual ability, which something skills that people can develop over time through experiences and also through educational experience, something like that. However, I prefer to answer this question later, supported by research finding. That's what I thought. But if anyone have another thought about it, you can let me know in the chat maybe, or raise your hand. That's a very good one. Anything else?
Miss Riza, maybe Novita have some question or something?
Yes.
Novita, raise hand here.
All right. So Novita, yes, please.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. My name is Novita Lastaru Sinaga. My question is, does if a child has a high IQ, does that mean the child also has high creativity? And if someone has a problem and he easily solves that problem, is that child creative? Thanks, ma'am.
Let me try to rephrase your question again, just to make sure that I got it right. So you asked if a child can solve a problem. Does that means that he or she is creative, have a creativity, something like that? Is that correct?
Atau Anda pernah melihat, pernah masuk ketika mini riset ke sekolah, atau mungkin pernah melihat di sekolahnya?
Novita.
I couldn't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Novita.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you repeat your question again? Because Miss Riza want to make it clear. So,
yes.
Okay. Can you repeat your question again, or maybe you can type it on the chat room, or you can ask again. Can you repeat your question again?
Okay, ma'am.
You are muted, I guess. So you need to unmute yourself. Yes.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Pertanyaan saya tadi, ma'am, does if a child has a high IQ, does that mean the child also has high creativity? And and if someone has a problem and he easily solves that the problem, is that called creative? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Now I got your questions. All right. To answer that question, I think we should refer back to previous slide about the characteristic of creative thinking and the characteristic of creativity. There are a lot of context needed to answer that question, such as if you say if someone has a high IQ, what do you mean by high? Does this mean that these people is like a genius person? Like of what? Then one characteristic of creativity that someone can create something, is open-minded, is flexible. So as long as they have those criteria, so regardless their result of IQ scores, whatever it is, whether high or low, as long as they have the criteria, it means that they have a creativity. Although the level of the creativity skill itself may be different from one to another. So I think we cannot judge someone whether he is if this person has a high IQ, then he or she must be a creative person. Well, maybe yes, maybe no to that question. It depends to the context. It depends to the type of problem. It depends to how they solve the problem. So as long as they try to solve the problems and it represent the characteristic of creativity, then we can say that he is a creative or she is a creative person. So that's a very good question too. I mean, sometimes I can understand that. Sometimes we feel like, oh, this person, my classmate, is very smart, so I think he's very creative too, something like that. But actually it's not really like that. There is no you cannot make a judgment only based on that. There are many factors related to that. So I hope that answers your question. And I also have another one here. Am I answering your question, Novita? I said correctly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And
ma'am. I can understand it, ma'am.
oh yeah, sure. Very good. You're very brave.
Mrs. Risa, I think there's a lot of participants that type on
mhm.
the chat
Yeah,
room.
I still
I
check.
will read. Yeah. Maybe I
Uh,
can read the question.
Oh, okay. So, person with the raised hand first. Okay, sure. Miss Novita, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Because I cannot see all of the participants. I'm sorry. I just can see like some of them. So maybe the moderator can like allow them to ask the question.
Novita Rizky, you can ask your question to Mrs. Riza, please.
I want to ask, ma'am. My name is Novita Sisyanturi. Can a precious child be called a creativity child? For example, children who can read English sentence at the age of 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That's a good one. Just want to make it clear that you asked whether a child that like 5 years old, if he or she can read an English sentence, then is he or she is a creative person. Is that correct? Yes. Like I said before that I will try to answer this question in two parts. The first one is regarding to the intellectual skill itself. So like reading English sentence, it can be nurtured. Like you can, I mean, someone can foster students to memorize something, even it's like in the early age, like Quran memorization or speech memorization. So that child or those children, they can like they can say a complete English sentence, but do they understand the meaning? So that's the important thing. If they understand the meaning and they are able to like give an explanation, although maybe like a very limited, like 5 years age explanation in their own words, then it's mean that they are creative because they can create something new based on their thinking. But if it's only like kind of memorization, then maybe she's still learning on it, still halfway to go. So I think that's my answer to your question, and I hope that helps. So anyone else?
Mrs. Riza, I think I can read one good question from Putri Mayangsari from PGSD.
Okay.
So the question is, from the previous page you explained that be respectful for the child and unusual ideas. What if that ideas are too unusual, as we can say a flying horse maybe? How do you respond for this child unusual ideas, and how we tell them how this is a send value inside of it? Okay.
Oh, that's a very good question, Putri. What if that ideas are very unusual? I think unusual itself, it depends on the people. Like maybe some of them will call it unusual, but maybe the children itself, the children say it's just usual because I watch the flying horse movies, like in a movie with my family, something like that. So we respect, it means that we will try to explore more when the children says about flying horse, or maybe this box can be turned into a music box or something like that. We can say that, okay, can you explain more how this thing could turn into that one? So this is the characteristic of creativity, which is envisaging what
things might be in the future or in other forms. Like Kathleen said, like how these things can turn into something else. So it may be very unusual for us, but try to respect students' ideas and try to explore more so you can get more context, because those contexts will help you to understand. Maybe the children will tell you that I went to the movie like last week with my family and I saw flying horse. That's why I thought something like this and like that. And then you know how the children process their thinking to jump into that conclusion. And there will always be a value inside students' answer. I believe it depends on us as a teachers to choose carefully how to encourage them to move forward with their ideas and how it benefits them in solving problems. During my experience as a teacher in middle school, sometimes students give some weird and very unusual ideas. When we did a science experiments, I asked them to do this and they try the other one, but that's okay. I just asked, so what's your rationale? Why you did this thing? Something like that. So I hope that answer your question.
Yes, ma'am, that answered my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mrs. Riza, I think there's another participant that raised their hand. Nadia?
All right. I think we can have one more because we need to move to another slide, but we will have a session, right, for question and answer.
Okay, Mrs. Riza.
So, who's gonna ask the question?
Nadia, you can ask your question.
Thank you for
I think Nadia is muted. All right.
yeah. Thank you for the
Nadia, you still muted.
Yes. Yes, Miss. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Nadia. I'm from Guidance and Counseling, Class B, regular, 2020. My question is, if I consider myself as creative person, what divide me or others creative and not creative? Also, as I understand, creativity is also comes from our environmental. So how do I, as a teacher in the future, put such a creative environmental at class, Miss? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I got your second question and I will answer it in a few next slide. So we'll keep it for later. But can you repeat it once again for your first question? Yeah, like you said, if you think that you are a creative person, and then
if I consider myself as a creative person, what divide me or others, creative or not creative?
Can you give an example? What do you mean by that?
Like, how do we divide person, like people, is a creative or not a creative?
Oh, okay. Now I get you. Why should we divide person into a creative and a creative? I think you are trying to say which person that are less creative and more creative, one to the other, right? So I need to go back to a couple of slides, I guess, but let me check here my notes. It's more okay, so we always refer to the theories of creativity or theoretical framework that we use to answer such question. So when you ask whether this one is creative or not creative, you refer back to the theories that you have learned. And we have learned that Torrance says that creativity is something that can be developed like over time, is being sensitive to a problem. And then if they face like some shortage of information, they try to get more information before they come up to a solution. They brave to seek a challenge, so and try to find a solution and then try it again, whether this proposed solution works for them or not. So when you try to like make sense whether this person, your student is creative or not creative, or is less creative or more creative, I mean, so you try to match their competencies, their creative thinking skills to those theories. Whether they try to get more information when they only have like limited information to solve a problem, or they only just need the information that you give to them to solve this problem. Whether they try to experiment with their solution and then revise it again until they feel like this is satisfied for them, or they just try it once and then they're done. So in answering such question, you always refer back to the theories. And there are a lot of theories of creativity. So you can choose later which one that you think fit best to your learning goals, to your learning objective when you teach in the classroom, and you like make a rubric based on it, and then that's how you define or make classification or categorization which student is less creative, in medium, or has high creativity. And we will try to analyze using that rubric that I have, and I hope we have time to do that. So your second question will be in the next few slides. All right, I hope that answers your question. So that's all really interesting experiences. I mean, you guys are very excited and brave to deliver your question, and I'm so glad about it. I think we can move forward at this moment to the next slide. Let me try. So this is the characteristic of creative learning that Catherine mentioned, that also some of you curious about. So what is the characteristic of creative learning or creative person? In creative learning environment, teacher ask question, or students ask question about something, and teachers give challenge, or students challenge themselves to find the answer to those questions. And they try to make connection among concepts that they have learned. That's why creative person should be knowledgeable. They see the relationship among concepts, and they envisaging what might be these things could be in another form or in the future. They explore ideas not only from their discipline, also from other disciplines. They keep being flexible, like Kathleen just said, that flexible is the key. So we should be open-minded with any possibilities, with any unusual ideas. Doesn't mean that we need to accept all those unusual ideas, but we consider all of them and try to make a selection which one that works best for our situation. And also, after all those things, we need to be able to reflect critically on our ideas, our actions, and also our outcomes. Because this reflection part will help us to understand the strength and limitation of our proposed solution. And it helps us to come with a new way to solve a problem. Catherine also shares similarities about creativity in a classroom with the model proposed by Lucas, Claxton, and Spencer in 2013. They offer the definition of creativity that focuses on 5 creative habits of mind. So this one is also that some of you are curious about. So what type of mind that creative person has? They are inquisitive, which means they are always wondering and questioning something, exploring and investigating. They challenge their assumption. They test their assumption. The second one is persistent. Persistent is not individual characteristic. Persistent is something, skills, ability that you can develop over time. Means that you stick with difficulty. You do not give up. You dare to be different. You tolerate uncertainty. The third one is imaginative, which means that you play with many possibilities. You try this one, it doesn't work. You try another one, it doesn't work. You try and try many times. You try any possibilities that may come up. You try making connection while you try those possibilities. You use your intuition when you try those possibilities. And collaborative is a must as a creative habits of mind, because in collaborative, in a teamwork, you can share your product to others, you give and receive feedbacks. You cannot assess your product by yourself without a bias. You should have a bias. You should think that this product is good because I've made it. You will only submit your product if it's the best version that you already done. But maybe someone can give you another suggestion from different perspective. And during that experiences, you learn how to cooperate with others appropriately, how to make a response in a respectful way. And the last habits of mind is a discipline. Discipline in developing techniques in problem solving, developing techniques in reflect critically to the proposed solution, and crafting and improving your proposed solution. So it becomes your final version of solution of problem solution. However, there's not really something definite about this is the final percent of mine. No, because there will also some aspect that can be improved. Maybe we just need some time to cool down and then we can see it again. So these are the habits of people who are creative. And if you want to know whether your student is creative, less creative, or more creative, or in medium, or in average, then you refer back to the theory, to the model, whether they are wondering and questioning. They just try it once and then they give up, or maybe 2, and then they say, I cannot do that. So that is the model proposed by the Lucas, Claxton, and Spencer as your reference. What are the advantages of having creativity? There is some evidence to suggest that creative learning environments improve levels of student motivation and engagement. Immersion in creative environment is reported to not only impact positively on academic achievement, but 19 case studies of creative learning from Scottish schools found that the main outcomes for students was a sense of personal success. Several small-scale studies showing reports of increased student confidence from practitioners working in Scottish schools and primary teachers in England. This study by Whitebread and colleagues in 2009 showed that children in the play-based, or we can say creative environment, were significantly more likely to persevere with a task than those in a taught or traditional environment. There is also some evidence, for example, noted in the review by Jindal, Snap, and colleagues in 2013. It is a 2007 study by Matthews. The study involved 2 classes of primary school-age students from a London school undertaking a 6-week creative arts intervention to assist their transition into secondary school. The study showed that students undertaking this intervention helped them become more articulate about their concerns, as well as more reflective and emotionally aware. The total absence rates in schools that had been participating in creative partnerships for 4 years were almost 1 percentage point lower than in otherwise comparable schools with no history of involvement with creative partnerships. Oops. So we've come to the part of the examples of lesson plan, followed by the learning processes as well as the assessment part. However, before we start the survey again, I think I can take some questions here, like a couple, 2 or 3 questions before we move on. If you want to share any thoughts or comments or question about what we have learned so far.
Okay, to all the participants, if you have a question, you can just raise your hand or type on the chat room.
No one at this moment?
I think there's 2 participants that raised their hand, ma'am.
Yes, you can direct them to answer, to ask the question. Which one first?
For
Mayang?
Christina, please.
Okay. Tasya, we also have a good question here from Putri Mayang. Maybe later after the first one, you can also read the question from Putri Mayang Sari.
Okay.
Sorry, ma'am. Mrs. Riza have answering that question.
Okay,
before.
thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
So who's gonna ask the question? I think 2 people raise their hands.
Christina or Ray Gultom, please.
I want to ask.
Okay.
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Ray Gultom. So my question to Ms. Risa is, earlier in the previous material, we looked at the 5 creative habits of the mind. Are there any tips or ways to improve those 5?
Tips to improve the habits of mind?
Yes, Ms. Risa.
Oh, I got you. Like Vice Rectors mentioned earlier, that creativity is applied to all levels, from like early years of age until like adult situation, problem, something like that. So I think I have mentioned some ways for you to improve the creativity skills. For example, you take an opportunity and to be brave to do that, like you did just now. You ask question, yes, you ask question in front of many people, your colleagues, your lecturer. So you take this opportunity, you try to be brave. Maybe you're nervous, maybe you're not. So you question yourself is the first step. You challenge yourself to do that, to speak in front of other people. So it's also a characteristic of creativity, as we have mentioned before. And then you now ask a question about how to be a creative person. I give you some examples. I give you some theory of creativity, like being flexible, being open-minded. But it's you who later try to be open-minded, try to be respectful for unusual ideas, and it's you that who only the one to try all those things. And that's how you develop your creative skills. But I think that's a really good start for you.
Thank you, Miss Risa, for the advice.
You're welcome. I think there is another one.
Okay, to the other participant that want to give a question, you can raise your hand.
No? But Tasha, do you know how many minutes that I have left? Just to make sure I'm in the right track.
We have 20 minutes more, Mrs. Riza.
Oh, all right. I think that's enough, perhaps. So if anyone has no question at this moment, that will be fine. Let's do another survey. I will provide you with a sample of an lesson plan. And this is the rubric that you will use to analyze whether the lesson plan incorporate creative learning into their design. So I will give you like a few more minutes, like 5 minutes or so, and you can like chat to your friends to get some mutual understanding to submit your response. So let me try to stop sharing now and put the link in the chat. Give me a moment. So this is the link, and I will also provide you with the lesson plan for you to analyze. A moment, please. All right. Still loading. Yes, I think it's already done. And this resources was developed by the OECD for the series project fostering and assessing creativity and critical thinking skills. So the purpose of this activity is to is for you to see how this lesson plan incorporates creative learning in their design. Maybe you can try to open the lesson plan and then analyze it and submit the response. I will share the result later again, like previously.
For all the participants, you can submit on the link on the chat room, please. Okay, to all the participants, there's a sample lesson plan from Mrs. Riza. You can check on the link on the chat room, please.
So I think I already got some sample from your response. We're just trying to save some time here. Before we discuss about it, do you find it is easy or difficult to analyze a lesson plan? Maybe you can like type it in the chat, yes or no. My question is, it is easy or difficult to analyze the lesson plan?
Mrs. Riza, I think there's a participant that raised her hand.
Okay, you can allow.
To Nurul Fadila from PGSD, please. Nurul. For Nurul Fadila from PGSD.
Nurul, take your time.
Nurul Fadila, do you still stay with us?
Yes, Kak. I'm sorry.
Yes, Nurul.
Nurul, you can unmute your mic first.
Okay, Kak.
Nurul, do you have any question? Because we are waiting for you. Nurul.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your question? Because you raised your hand. Do you have any question?
Actually, I don't have question, ma'am, because I don't know that I click it on my phone.
Okay, then. Thank you, Nurul.
That is fine. Yeah, things happen. All right, so let me share my screen and we can continue to do result of the survey. Am I already shared my screen? Not yet. Sorry.
Mrs. Riza, I think there is another participant that raised.
Oh, okay.
From Penmas Alia, please. Do you have a question?
Okay, thank you. My question is about creative learning. Wait.
What is the role of creative learning in technological development, especially in the reform era? For 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 zero, and are there any obstacles in entering developments in the for reform area? That's it's all, and thank you.
Sorry, but thank you for the question. That's a very advanced question. I will say that creativity is very much engaged with the technology. If you draw the words creativity, it comes from create, which means create something. And all the technology that we have today is, we can use it because someone created for us or found it for us and developing for us. So it has a very close relationship between the development of technology and creativity. And also, are there any obstacles to develop the technology and using creativity? Is that what you're trying to say? Yes. So I think obstacle, yes, Alia?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so I would say that obstacles are everywhere, not only in developing technology in industry 4.0 related to creativity. Even teachers in the classroom have their own obstacles to foster creativity for students. Students have obstacles to develop their own creativity skills, and the scientists face many obstacles to develop new invention. It can be from funding, it can be from policies, it can be from resources. So there are a lot of things that can be an obstacle to develop something, to invent something. However, how they come up with a solution to overcome the obstacles, that's count as a creativity. So I think that should answer your question.
Okay, Miss.
Or you may have, maybe you have another question or follow-up question.
I don't have another question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, thank you, Miss, for your answer my question. I understand it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I saw another person raise a hand, I guess. Mbak Tasya?
Sorry, Mrs. Riza, I think our time is 10 minutes more.
Oh, okay. So we will just continue like a couple of slides, and we will have question and answer session later after this. So this is the result, which is interesting. We will analyze it together. After this, I will just make notes so I can compare when we analyze it together. For the second question, like most students feel that step 1, 3, and 4 represent the part that asks students to generate and play with unusual and radical ideas. And most of us say that step 1, 2, and 3 ask students to pause and propose how to solve scientific problem in personally novel way, so in a new way. And this lesson plan requires students to reflect on steps. Most of us agree with it. So let's see here the sample of the lesson plan and also the rubric. I think we can say that making connection to other scientific concept or conceptual ideas in other discipline, it can be found in this one, in step 1. We can also play in this one in step 2, generating ideas and making connection. Is that right? We can find it in step 3, generating ideas and making connection to other scientific concepts. So they ask students to like make a connection between the mammals characteristic from the previous lesson to mythical creatures. And also in the step 4, in this part, generating ideas and making connections. So all the steps represent the inquiring aspect, which is making connection to other scientific concept or conceptual ideas in other discipline. And how about in imagining, generate and play with unusual radical ideas when approaching or solving a scientific problem? We can find it in the step 2. This one, unusual and radical ideas. Students can be challenged to think of really unusual or creative ways to classify animals as appropriate. We can also find it in, let's see, in step 1, finding several perspectives on the problem. Several perspectives mean you try to make a prediction. And use unusual or radical ideas from various perspectives.
Dari orang ini ya? Ya, abangnya.
I will just wait until it's settled, I guess. Okay. And then we can also find it in step 4, in this one, challenging assumption and finding several perspectives. Several perspectives. These things can lead you to find some unusual or radical ideas. For example, students were asked to come up with a new test question. And for doing, like pose and propose how to solve a scientific problem in a personally novel way, we can find it in the step 2, this one. And in the step 3, in this one. And also in the step 4, like proposing on opinion. When we ask group to comment on each other's suggestion, it means that we propose our own solution or our own thoughts related to the way they solve the problem. And the reflecting, we can see this component in step 3. Which one? Ask them to reflect on how humans' relationship to animals could change. And also in step 4, where students were asked to consider again why they classify and the advantages and disadvantages of doing so as appropriate. So consider again something, it means that you reflect on it and then you may come up with a new way, a new method to solve the problem. So I know that Indonesian teachers' lesson plan are very different with this one, but the focus of this rubric is on the learning activities, so it should be in the methods or students' activities section, I guess, in the lesson plan. And when you try to write your own lesson plan later, so you may think about how to incorporate these components of creativity when you design a student's activity. So also I want to show you a video. This is a very short video. This is a video by Michael Dispezio. So he modeled creativity in a science classroom, and I think it will be interesting for you to see. Let's try to watch it together. Let me try this one.
Hi, I'm Michael Dispezio, one of the authors of HMA Science Dimensions, and today I'd like to model one of the lessons from this program. The activity begins with me profiling the performance expectations from NGSS. Today, we are going to observe rocks, make models, and see what you can learn from a rock's appearance. Sound like fun? Yeah! Oh, great! As we teach, it's important for us to integrate the 3 dimensions that are profiled in NGSS. So those are the science and engineering practices, the cross-cutting concepts, and the disciplinary core ideas, or DCIs for short. We're going to be learning by doing science. Now, I got a question. Would you sooner read about science or do science? Do science! Fantastic. One of the things we're going to do is construct an explanation. We're going to say, I think this happens because I saw this. To first engage the students in this experience, you may want to pose certain questions, but don't answer them. Let the students arrive at the answers to these after they've done the activity. This way, they're able to use the CER model to come up with reasonable evidence, reasoning, and why their claim might be true or not true. Think about patterns. What is a pattern? Yeah, what's a pattern?
A pattern is something that repeats over and over again.
Something that repeats over and over again. That is brilliant. Give them a heads up of what they're going to be looking at during that classroom session. We're able as scientists to look at a very cool story. And that story of the history of planet Earth is all about the building of rocks.
But a lot of students need that aha, the catch. What is it that we need to do here? What do we need to accomplish? If you get them there, then you can do science all day long with them.
This is where you get to be like a scientist and begin to experiment.
It's more fun to do things than hearing about it.
Watch me as I show you how to transfer and pour the sand from the bucket into the container. The reason why I need you to see me do this is that you have to pour the sand at a steady rate. Do you see how that's a pretty steady rate?
Yeah.
Question, how many of you think you're going to be able to pour with a steady rate? Students need to work together. Teamwork. It's a critical skill that these students must develop for use beyond that classroom. So, when the opportunity arises, let them work in teams. With your partner, I want you to select one of the colors of sand. This is going to be the first layer in your container. Make sure this is student directed. It's up to them, really for them, not only to help design the activity, but to design what answers they're after.
As far as the students, they were allowed to have their own area to work with. And what was good about it, it allows students to not be regimental, but to allow them to be more creative.
If we just read, it wouldn't really help, but if we actually do it, then it makes it more funner and it actually helps us.
That is your first layer. Now we're going to place a second layer on top of that. And you know what? I am not going to tell you how long you're going to pour for. That's going to be up to you.
Yeah.
How does 30 seconds sound? All right. Okay? Oh, look at that. Look at that. That looks great. How many people have done 3 colors so far? Who would want to do 4 colors? Remember, nobody learns anything in isolation. Everything that those students learn, every piece of knowledge that they construct, really gets inserted into a thinking schema they already have. So, lay the foundation for the path on which they're about to take. Which rock layer or which model layer that you have in your container is the oldest? Which one is the oldest? Which one went in there? Think about it. Which one went in there?
So by having these kind of lessons that promote and direct them to push their scientific discoveries, it allows them to become better scientists at the end.
Students need to analyze the process. Remember, this is not cookbook. They need to think about what they're doing and really come up with an understanding based upon their observations. So, how did the pouring time affect the layer thickness? How did the rate at which the sand was poured affect the layer thickness? Don't tell them, because they need to discover this.
What causes the thick layer is when you add more time to it. For 15 seconds, it would cause a thicker layer, but if you wanted a thinner layer, you would do it for 5 or 6 seconds, and you would get a thin layer, maybe like the blue on top.
You guys have a good time?
Yeah!
All right, I'll see you next lesson.
Yes, I had a lot of fun and I appreciate my teacher for doing this for us.
Yeah, I had fun with science. Yes, I had a lot of fun today.
It was really fun. I loved it a lot.
I had a lot of fun.
The kids today had a wonderful time. This was an experiment that was probably something that will be lasting with them. And I know just speaking with them, they were ecstatic about it.
So, okay. So, any thoughts or comment like, do you think this video represent of creative learning? If you feel so, you can raise your hand so I can like see how many people think that this is the example of creative learning. And what are the examples? Yeah, please raise your hand if you think that this is an example of creative learning.
To the participant, maybe we can accept just one question because our time is over. To the participant who want to give a question, just raise your hand or type on the chat room. Okay, I think Satrio Halawa raise hand from PGSD. Satrio, please, if you have a question.
Okay, thank you for the time giving to me. Good morning, everybody. My name is Satrio Halawa from Primary Teacher Education. So my question is my statement is true if I said that everyone has creativity, no matter that people is built so disciplined, very obey the rules. I mean, I have ever read about that the rules make the people creativity undeveloped. That's my question, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the question. Can you give me a second? I need to do something for a moment, just a moment. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That's a very good question. I have a like 1 year old son over there waiting for me. Okay, so I would say that your statement is true that everyone has creativity skill inside themselves. However, whether it is high or low, it depends on your previous experiences, life experiences, I mean, and we can define disciplines in several ways. Like you say, a discipline is obeying the regulation. I guess like come on time to school, come on time to class, submit your assignment before like on the due date, something like that. That's a discipline way. But we can say that also like a discipline here, it means that you reflect critically to yourself continuously. So you do it over time. It also counts as discipline. So discipline here, we prefer the definition that fit with the term of creativity, as creativity itself should be flexible and open-minded. So discipline here means that we discipline to train our mind to be open-minded and to be flexible. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I got it.
Thank you very much. So I think this is the last part. I mean, we already run out of time. So this is the obstacle, right? The time that we have. So how we overcome this obstacle, because there is a few couple of slides I want to share. I will give you here. Let me share my screen moment. And what is one. So how do you incorporate these examples in a more creative way in your own classroom? And because we run out of time, you can shoot me an email here. If you have more questions, I will come to receive that email. This is my university email, so I'm waiting forward to talk to you, whether you have questions about creative learning or whether you just want to talk about like how to like maybe get a scholarship to go to study overseas, something like that. And once again, thank you very much for the opportunity for the Universitas Negeri Medan. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Okay, Mrs. Riza and all the participants, I think our time is over. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's all about our general lecture and question and answer session today. Thank you so much for the appearance from all our lecturers. Also, thank you to our speaker, Mrs. Riza. Thank you so much for inspiring us. Today's topic are so interesting. We have learned about creative thinking, characteristic of creative learning, by creative habits of mind, and we have watching some video about creativity. I think today we get a lot of knowledge from presentation by Mrs. Riza. And of course, thank you for all the participants too. It's such an honor for me to be here in this special event. I'm glad to see and join with you here. It's such a grateful event. And all of the topic today are very interesting. Once again, thank you so much. And I apologize if I do mistake in my words. Thank you. And I give it back to the MC.
Well, thank you, Tasha and Mrs. Risa, for the main event. I'm so grateful to be here and can feel that our event will be ended soon. So for the closing speech, please welcome Head of Department Teacher Training for Primary School, Dr. Irsan, MPD, MSc. To Dr. Irsan, time and place is yours.
Baik, terima kasih Saudara Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Suara saya bisa jelas didengar?
Jelas, Pak.
Baik, terima kasih atas kesempatan ini karena seyogianya sebetulnya Ibu WD1 yang menutup acara ini, tapi karena di rapat kemarin diminta kepada salah satu ketua prodi untuk menutup karena mahasiswa prodi PGSD adalah mahasiswa terbanyak di Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan Universitas Negeri Medan. Dan prodi ini juga menjadi prodi paling favorit setiap tahun dalam beberapa tahun terakhir. Pertama-tama, Ibu WD1, WD2, WD3, mohon maaf dari Pak WR4 tadi ya, WR4, kemudian Pak Dekan, serta seluruh dosen, segala tim yang bertugas, semua tim yang bertugas pada panitia seminar hari ini yang saya hormati, dan teristimewa Ibu kita Risa Hariza, ya. Mungkin suatu saat tidak hanya melalui Zoom, tetapi mungkin suatu saat nanti bisa berkunjung ke Universitas Negeri Medan dalam rangka sharing tatap muka langsung. Mudah-mudahan nanti Ibu Risa punya waktu ya setelah pulang ke Indonesia. Baik, creative planning, saya mohon maaf dalam bahasa Indonesia memberikan sambutan ini sekaligus penutupan. Tadi sudah dijelaskan bahwa salah satu manfaat yang dirasakan oleh peserta didik jika diterapkan creative planning adalah menambah rasa percaya diri peserta didik, kemudian pengembangan emosional, sosial emosional keterampilan mereka juga akan bertambah, kemudian peningkatan aktivitas fisik dan mental, ya, aktivitas fisik dan mental sekaligus, karena mereka dilibatkan dalam berbagai aktivitas yang kreatif, baik dalam urusan kreatifnya yang STEM maupun yang dalam bentuk logo yang pertama tadi, misalnya anak-anak buat logo sekolahnya, bisa nggak ya anak-anak kita itu, misalnya kalau di PAUD, di PGSD, di BK, di Penmas, karena kreativitas dalam hal membuat sesuatu yang merupakan idenya yang dimunculkan, meskipun tadi ada pertanyaan bagaimana kalau anak-anaknya tak punya ide gitu. Bagaimana kita merespon anak-anak kalau dia diberi sesuatu tugas tapi dia tidak punya ide. Nah, inilah tugas berat para guru di masa digital ini, ya. Meskipun ini menjadi bagian penting dalam pembelajaran di semua tempat, mulai dari masyarakat pedesaan di Sipiongot misalnya. Sipiongot itu, Bu, adalah salah satu desa di Kabupaten Tapanuli Selatan yang dulu tak ada listrik, tak ada sinyal di sana, dan untuk mencapainya lebih dari 1 hari untuk sampai ke desa itu dulu. Dari Sipiongot sampai ke Medan Johor. Kalau Medan Johor sudah bagus, bagian dari kota Medan. Nah, ini kan nanti mahasiswa kami ini akan bertugas di berbagai tempat itu, mulai dari Sipiongot sampai Medan Johor itu. Nah, ini tentu tidak perlu dijadikan kendala karena kreativitas ini juga berbasis lingkungan. Oleh karena itu, prasyarat untuk bisa lahirnya pembelajaran kreatif juga termasuk menyiapkan lingkungan yang responsif terhadap kreativitas ini. Jadi harus ada ruang yang fleksibel, ya. Jadi kalau tidak ada listrik, apa yang harus dilakukan? Kalau tidak ada in fokus, apa yang harus dilakukan? Jadi creativity berbasis kearifan lokal itu mungkin salah satu alternatif. Kemudian juga hubungan antara guru dan muridnya juga harus lebih harmonis, ya. Keharmonisan itu juga bisa mendukung lahirnya kreativitas anak. Jangan dalam suasana ketakutan anak-anak. Kalau dalam suasana ketakutan kan secara psikologis kreativitasnya bisa terganggu. Nah, ini juga desain-desain pembelajaran yang dirancang nanti oleh teman-teman, baik di kampus maupun di sekolah, ini perlu dipikirkan karena syarat-syarat untuk bisa sampai kepada pembelajaran kreatif ini masih banyak yang harus dibenahi, termasuk bagaimana mereka menyediakan bahan, ya, sekolah menyediakan bahan, ya, baik yang berasal dari lingkungannya maupun yang dari kota, ya. Mungkin dari kota ke desa dikirim, tapi harus ada juga kemauan sekolah untuk ini membeli sesuatu yang dibutuhkan untuk kreativitas ini. Kalau misalnya dalam bentuk benda-benda yang dibutuhkan untuk keperluan anak-anak. Kemudian juga metode pembelajarannya yang lebih meningkatkan otonomi peserta didik, ya. Jadi semampu apa anak-anak kita itu bisa kreatif, tidak selalu ukurannya adalah gurunya, tetapi adalah apa yang bisa dilakukan oleh anak-anaknya. Jadi haruslah bisa dihargai, diapresiasi sekecil apapun kreativitas yang muncul atau yang lahir dari anak didik kita itu. Kemudian juga perlu di sini nanti bekerja sama, bermitra dengan lembaga luar sekolah. Apakah itu pemerintah desa, apakah itu organisasi pemuda di desa itu, dan lain-lain. Kemudian juga membangun hubungan yang harmonis di antara warga sekolah, sehingga kalau ada anak-anak yang kreatif tidak langsung diponis oh tidak bisa, gitu, tidak boleh, segala macamnya. Jadi sekecil apapun harus tetap dihargai. Jadi teman-teman warga sekolah yang lain juga harus bisa seirama dalam melihat kreativitas atau membangkitkan kreativitas anak-anak kita. Karena mereka bukan hidup untuk sekarang, tapi hidup untuk masa mereka nanti. Kemudian juga peluang-peluang atau kesadaran akan kebutuhan peserta didik itu di masa digital natif ini juga harus disadari oleh para guru dan para lulusan kami nanti di PGSD terutama dan PAUD ya. Kemudian juga dari sisi perencanaan pembelajaran kreatifnya juga harus dirancang sejak penyusunan RPP-nya ya. Nanti tentu mungkin dosen-dosen kami akan mengimplementasikan di dalam perencanaan pembelajaran kreatif ketika mereka nanti mau praktek pembelajaran. Baik, pada hari ini Bu Riza Hariza kami tentu mengapresiasi kehadiran Ibu dalam rangka seminar yang dilaksanakan oleh Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan Universitas Negeri Medan. Kepada seluruh panitia dan seluruh mahasiswa yang hadir, kami ucapkan banyak terima kasih. Kalau sudah masuk ke ke majelis ilmu seperti ini, mudah-mudahan wawasannya bertambah. Kalau wawasan bertambah, tentu derajatnya juga akan naik. Atas nama Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan sekaligus Universitas Negeri Medan, kami menyampaikan terima kasih yang tiada terhingga kepada Ibu Riza Hariza dan seluruh panitia atas terselenggaranya kegiatan seminar pada hari ini. Kepada Bapak Ibu yang hadir pada hari ini juga kami ucapkan terima kasih. Demikian dan mohon maaf apabila ada hal-hal yang kurang berkenan. Atas nama Ketua Prodi, karena Ketua Prodi mewakili prodi-prodi yang lain, kami mengucapkan terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Dr. Idasan for the closing speech. I agree a lot with you. And to all the participants, I remind you that you must fill the attendance at the chat bar. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are at the end of the event. Thank you so much for the appearance from all of our lecturers in Faculty of Education. And thank you so much for our speaker, Mrs. Risa, for the inspiring topic, and officially all the participants too. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's such a grateful event because the topics are inspiring and educating. Thank you so much for your attention. If there's my words that less pleasing, I apologize to you. Let us close the general lecture by saying Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Terima kasih Miss Risa. Terima kasih semuanya. Pak Irsan, Pak Dekan.
Ya, sudah bisa
Pak
pamit ya
WR4.
Bu WD1 ya.
Silahkan Pak, terima kasih Pak. Terima kasih Bu Risa. WR4.
Ya, boleh live sekarang.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih Pak Ihsan, Bu Suci, Bu.
Ya, terima
Bu Suci.
kasih sama-sama
Thank you.
Ibu. Ya.
Thank you semua mahasiswa. Oke.
Izin Li, Pak
Izin,
Dekan, Bu,
ya baik.
Bu WD,
Izin.
Pak WD.
Terima kasih Bu Suci.
Bapak Ibu Kaprodi.
Terima kasih kembali Bu Suci.
Terima kasih Bu
Ya,
WD2. Izin
sama-sama.
kami tutup. Terima kasih
Ya.
Bu Sofi. Terima kasih Bu Sofi. Terima kasih adik-adik MC dan moderator. Terima kasih. Kami tutup ya. Terima kasih.